Thank you all for joining us on another episode from Benchmark Studios. Today is going to be really special. We're going to dive in with a couple great guests to talk about therapy and really try to pull out what tools can be used to strengthen your mental health, what you can look for, and get some great insight from these two. So today we have Amanda and Richard. They work together, and I'll let them fill you in on what they do and how they're connected here. But first off, if you could just kind of tell me a little bit about each of you and what you do, specifically as it relates to Benchmark.
Absolutely. Once again, I will say that excellence definitely goes first in this relationship. So I will allow Amanda to introduce herself, and I will follow up behind that. See if I can hold a candle to you.
Ever. So my name is Amanda. As you said, I am one of the founders of Strength, Love, and Motivation. Richard and I founded Strength, Love, and Motivation together, and it's a blessing. When I started doing this work, which I absolutely love, I started working for an agency. And working for an agency is wonderful, but there's a lot of bureaucracy that goes along with it. Sure. And I wasn't the greatest or the biggest fan of that, rather. So after doing that for several years, my husband actually found a program. We had been waiting for an online program a K-CREPT online program to be announced at a university so that I could continue my schooling.
Okay.
And he came across one. So he said, "Hey, you want to go back to school?" And I was like, "Yes, I was waiting for this." And so I left the agency I was working at and I went back to school full time. And with his support, of course, it was wonderful. So after maybe a year or so, I was really getting bored. I was like, all right, I need to get back into the work. And that's when we started our practice. Okay. We call it Strength, Love, and Motivation. I remember I was sitting there braiding one of my daughter's hair, and my other daughter was taking her braids out her hair, and we're all sitting there together. And it's like, what are we going to call it? And we determined that we wanted people to recognize the strength that lives within them. We wanted them to feel loved in our presence for sure. And we definitely wanted them to recognize what was necessary for them to stay motivated so they can build the discipline to accomplish what they want to accomplish. So we came up with Strength, Love, and Motivation.
Okay.
So it's been wonderful.
Absolutely. And just to piggyback off what she said there, definitely you always want to support goals, dreams, aspirations of your loved ones. And I love this woman like none other. And I know her purpose, part of her purpose, and she knows her purpose, but I know her purpose is to definitely be able to help others, just like mine is. And we knew that starting this company would give us the ability to be able to have that opportunity to be able to do it. So I knew by allowing, being there to be supportive and for her to go back to get her PhD, to be able to do this was going to be a dream come true. And then to be able to start this company, to be able to help others was going to piggyback with it.
Yeah. And so it's strength, love, and motivation. What does that what services does that encapsulate?
Everything.
Everything?
So I serve as our clinical director, and I provide clinical supervision to the individuals. We have, I 10 on our team right now. So I'll do clinical supervision if necessary, but we provide individual counseling. We provide couples and family counseling. We provide groups, workshops, trainings. We work with different companies and things of that nature to provide whatever service is necessary. We customize our trainings and workshops. But I think the most rewarding piece of it is the counseling piece, whether it's the individual. For me, my favorite is individual and couples. I don't mind doing families as well, but just being able to have the opportunity to dig really deep into someone and then see the change that happens in them.
Sure.
It's amazing. It's one of the most rewarding things I think that you can experience as a human. But we offer it all. Did I leave any out?
Yeah, and just also we do coaching as well. So it's a counseling and coaching practice and consultation practice as well. Okay. And me as the clinical facilitator here at the company, I do a lot with our trainings, also seeing individuals as well. And I do a lot of the professional coaching as well. So that gives us a whole holistic approach to be able to help people in different avenues because,
Yeah.
you know, from a therapeutic standpoint, you necessarily are not giving individuals advice, where if you were doing from a, you know, a coaching standpoint, you could give individuals advice or direction and so forth, so on. So we definitely wanted to be able to incorporate everything to be almost like a one-stop shop at all to fulfill that purpose, to be able to help others.
Sure. Okay. And so when you say coaching, obviously just because you look like you could be wrestling Cael Sanderson or whoever else doesn't mean you are. It's not coaching a sports team. What primarily are you coaching and who?
And that's a very, very good question to ask, even though I wouldn't mind being an athletic coach. But we definitely do professional coaching, you know, helping individuals with their career. We do wealth-based coaching or financial coaching. There's many different avenues that you can get into if you want to tell a little more.
So what we did to have a different option, or I didn't want to show up like all the other coaching practices and businesses that are out there. So we found specialists. So I have one young woman. She'll appreciate I said young woman. One young woman who works with us, and she's our coach, and she does like maternal health. She does, she specializes in just female wellness overall. We have another one that specializes in athletics. We have another one that specializes in finances. We have one for career. We have one for professional goals. And then we have some that are there that are kind of just across the board in general life coaches. But life coaching is the goal in the sense of not everyone needs counseling or therapy, but they still want some type of input or guidance in their life. So coaching is an option for them that's going to be less invasive.
I see.
Right.
I see.
Yeah, because not every situation that you deal with requires a diagnosis per se. And when I say diagnosis, talking from a mental health standpoint from the DSM-5. So definitely with coaching, you have many other avenues that you can go.
Sure. Okay. You have said counseling. I said therapy. Is there a difference?
Okay.
No, they're interchangeable. You can definitely use it that way. And there's so many names. You have psychotherapy or psychotherapists. You have your counselors. You have your licensed professional counselors. You have guidance counselors and school counselors. So there's
social workers.
Yes, there's so many varieties.
Yeah. Okay. So it's all the same. Good.
Pretty much.
I thought I was saying the wrong thing. Obviously, at Benchmark Program, we deal with youth, primarily high school. We can go younger, 12, all the way, you know, adults, young adults, 24 years old, whatever, but primarily high schoolers. Can you, from your vantage point, maybe give us a brief overview of the state of mental health for young people in America today, again, from your vantage point?
You want to start this one?
Yes, I can. So I believe and I feel that the youth that we're talking about from 14 to 24, especially that demographic, in this day and age, they face challenges that were different than my generation per se. We have things that are occurring with, they have to, standards per se that they have to live up to, right? And those standards are deemed via media. But whether that be through movies, television, whether that be on social media, they have to live through that. And in regards, that causes a lot of anxiety, causes a lot of stress, and a lot of depression. So having that direction of where to go or where to look about how to be able to grow to get out of that is really, really difficult for this age group, I do believe. I know that whenever I came up in that age group, that age range 20 plus years ago, it was about athletics for me. I had outlets. I had many different things that I was concerned about. Whereas now more so, it's that I'm telling you that social media component plays a huge factor in developing of the mental difficulties that a lot of those individuals face.
I think the state of the mental health of our youth, 14 to 24, I think it's pretty dire. I say that because the last time I looked it up, the second leading cause of death for that age range was suicide. And that's really scary because that's our future. Like we need them to be healthy and strong and stable and secure. And the youth today are facing a lot of adult situations. And they have to navigate these adult issues with an underdeveloped brain. And that causes a lot of strain on their mental health, a lot of strain. And then they're at a loss because they haven't even had the opportunity to develop the coping skills and the necessary tools to be able to navigate those situations or to know even most adults struggle with identifying what they're feeling. So imagine asking a child to do that, right? Or adolescent. I'll give them their credit. They're an adolescent. That's difficult. That's a big ask. So there's a lot of turmoil as a result. So we have depression, anxiety, mood disorders are huge. And mood disorders used to be diagnosed at a later age, usually like early 20s, late 20s. Mood disorders are now being diagnosed at an earlier age, and that's that teenage. And I don't know how I feel about it because I know their brain isn't fully developed. So how can we identify and say, well, that's a mood disorder versus that's just the result of the developmental stage they're in right now.
Sure.
In addition to the circumstances that they're dealing with in their life.
Yeah. No, I would like to say my toddlers have a mood disorder, but I think that's all developmental.
Yes. Yes. Let's hope and pray that's what that is.
And there's a lot of difficulty that goes during this period, even if you look at it from like an adjustment disorder, because there's a lot of growth that is happening, right? You have body changes that are changing, so you're physically changing. You also have mental changes because your mind is continuing to develop at this point in time. So with that culmination of those changes that are going, it's very difficult for individuals in that age range because, you know, you may mention in regards about the brain not being fully developed, right? Underdeveloped brains being between 14 to 24 years old. They say, 25 is typically the age at what the brain develops, but now there are empirical studies that are showing that it may be closer to 27. So there's a lot of changes that are going through, and that has a significant impact on them at that age.
Society doesn't treat them that way.
Right.
Society is treating them like an adult with a fully developed brain. And there's this expectation that they feel very pressured to meet because, again, they don't have that wherewithal of being able to say, I don't have to succumb to your expectations. That's a tool. That's something they would learn in counseling or in therapy. So it's a difficult time for them. It really is.
Yeah. I can't say that I'd want to go back and be 14 or 24.
No. I would agree with that sentiment. Well, that is a fairly dire picture you've painted. It sounds like you're saying mental health for young people in America is poor, and social media reinforces that constantly. I can see that now. For this, I run social media to put out our podcasts and stuff. And every time I open an app, being barraged with images, and I feel really old saying this, but I didn't have that growing up. It transports you in a way. I remember being wrapped up in a book and feeling like I was transported to another place. The imagery that you get from your phone is that times a million. And yeah, I want to be going through that while I'm developing.
And it's constant. And that's the thing. I'll have young adults and they'll be like, I think I have ADHD. And I will say, okay, tell me why. And it's literally, well, because I always feel like I have to have something going on in front of me. And I said, similar to you always having a phone in your hand that you can scroll through, and every time you scroll, it's something new. So your brain is responding to something different every single time. And don't get me wrong, ADHD is a very real diagnosis, and unfortunately, many people deal with it. But the amount of people today who feel like that's what they're suffering from, and it's like, I just want them to have it. I'll ask, how many hours a day outside of you not sleeping do you not touch your phone? And now, unless they go to a school all day where their phone has to be locked up, there probably isn't an hour that goes by that they're not on their phone. So they are conditioning their brain to respond to constant stimulation. So if I put my phone down, my brain is, what's my stimulation? What's happening? And they feel very uneasy about that. And then, of course, social media tells them, well, you have ADHD because these are the symptoms. So, yeah.
Yeah, you think if you could be able to separate it, many of these new phones have the feature on there for screen time, right? I would bet you could safely say it would be scary to see the amount of screen time that each individual between that age range, even going further past that age range, just the person in general today to see what that screen time would look like, it would be crazy. And as you said, that constant stimulation, because it used to take how long for news to travel? We didn't know about something that happened in Washington State for maybe days, or we might not have even heard about it. Whereas you can get that immediacy right to your telephone right away. So it's constantly your mind is you got it ebbs and flows, right? You have ups and downs where I'm constantly dealing with something that might be happy, or I'm constantly dealing with something that is potentially sad. So I'm dealing with that on a daily basis, nonstop, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So, it is important. I'm pretty sure we'll probably touch on it a little bit later in regards to exhibiting and finding those skills necessary to have good mental health, as well as to work towards being efficient and effective with it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's designed intentionally that way to evoke emotion from you. So you're talking about the roller coaster of emotion. Like that's how they know they've been successful. If they can get you on that roller coaster and then captivate you. I'll joke and be like, it's called a cell phone for a reason. It's a virtual prison, right? It just has you captivated.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, kind of taking this, like zooming out a little bit here, how would you define good, and I use air quotes, good mental health? Like, what does that look like? Maybe that's a better way to ask that.
They're so appropriate, right? Because good mental health is very much going to be unique to the individual. Generally speaking, we can say someone who has the skill set to navigate through life in a successful manner, because life is always lifing. So it's not someone who's always happy or someone who feels like I have it all together, but it's someone who is equipped with dealing with all of the parts of life, all of our good, all of our bad, even the boredom. You want to be able to deal with that in what we would consider a healthy fashion. I think generally speaking, that's a good sign for good mental health.
Right. And as she made mention there about good mental health, you might just on face value think that it means that, hey, I'm going to be completely happy all the time. The sun's always shining, it's bright, it's lovely. It does not necessarily mean that, you're going to have complete happiness all the time and that life doesn't have its stressors. Yes, that happens, right? Because as you said, life be lifing sometimes, but it means that you have those skills that are available to be able to cope emotionally, psychologically, physiologically, as well as through your social well-being as well. So it's very, very important to be able to find those skills to be able to do that. And that's one thing that therapy or counseling, as you say, can definitely help you do.
Yeah, you want clarity of mind, right? When you have that clarity, you can move with intention. The fogginess isn't there. There's that brain clutter that comes as a result of overstimulation that gets in the way of our functioning. So clarity, I think, is a really big part of it as well.
Absolutely. And to go back to what you said about it looking different for everyone, that is completely true, because what may make you happy or bring you joy might not bring me happiness or joy, and the same vice versa for you or anybody else. Because I could tell you, oh, I'm doing this and I'm doing great at doing this. I wouldn't like that, right? But you could tell me that and I could respond the same exact way. So it's going to look totally, totally different from everybody. But getting that baseline of where you would go. And the answer that we're giving you is going to be that textbook contextual answer that is that, yes, you're not happy all the time and you don't have stress, but you have those abilities to be able to cope and get through the day.
There's a children's book called Grumpy Monkey. Have either of you heard of it?
No.
Hilarious. Definitely buy it and read it as an adult. It's written for children, but even without kids,
it's an easy read, right?
Yes. Right. It's at my level. So it's called Grumpy Monkey. It's about a monkey named Jim Pansy, which to me just chef's kiss. It makes the book great from the jump. And he wakes up one day grumpy, but refuses to accept that he's grumpy. And all of his friends in the jungle give him ways to cheer up. They're all things that they would do, right? And he doesn't feel like doing any of them. And in the end, sitting with a friend on a tree branch is what helps him start to feel better. And I think that perfectly encapsulates what you all are saying, that it is going to look different for everyone. The hippo might feel happiest wallowing, and the hyena might feel best laughing. But chimpanzee feels best just sitting on a branch.
Nice.
And we all start. I think you had mentioned one of you had mentioned finding your baseline earlier. That is so important to know where you're going once you establish that baseline. So how do you? Well, I guess that kind of depends on how you're working with. How you're interacting with your clients, but from a therapy lens, I guess, how do you go about establishing a baseline when someone comes to you?
So it depends on their need. We have a lot of different assessments that we can utilize. So if someone comes in and they tell me that they have been feeling and what they describe to me, I'm like, okay, this sounds like depression. Then I'm going to give them 1 or 2 assessments just to kind of gauge where they are. And that helps me to create a baseline.
Sure.
If they're coming to me and they're talking about, I feel okay, but I don't have clarity on this area of my life, right? We use this tool and it encompasses the 6 human emotional needs. And most people are not familiar with the 6 human emotional needs. When I say that, I'm talking about its variety, or it can also be called uncertainty. Certainty in and of itself, contribution, growth, love and connection, and significance. And as humans, we all have these needs, but we have them on different levels. Whereas my number 1 is growth. I would not fare well in your typical 9 to 5 sitting in a cubicle. Like, it would crush me. Like, I have to be doing something where I'm constantly learning, which is why I love being a clinician, because I have the privilege of sitting across from someone and they're allowing me to dig into their mind and their experiences and just their lives in general. I learn something in every session, right? So that feeds my top human emotional need. Whereas, your number 1 human emotional need may be contribution, right? So you are contributing in the type of work that we do, but you might say, I need more, right? I don't want to sit here. I want to go and I want to build something for the community. So when we understand what our needs are, then we're able to determine what we need to do in order for us to meet them. Because you're going to meet your needs. You're going to meet them in a positive way, a negative way, or a neutral way. If you have knowledge of what your needs are, you can be intentional in meeting them in a positive way. Uncertainty. Someone who has the need uncertainty and they don't recognize it and they decide, I'm going to go check out a casino for the first time. Guess what? They're going to love gambling and they're going to have a hard time stepping away from it because it's meeting a need that they were starving before. But if they know that's their need, then they can find a positive way to meet it so that gambling doesn't fit into it so well. Right?
To becoming an addiction, right?
Yeah, so the needs are really important. So I share that example because if I have someone who's coming in and that's the type of clarity they're seeking, that's the assessment I'm going to give them. And that will help me, again, determine the baseline. Okay, these are your needs, but this is what's happening. They're not being met. What do we need to do in order to meet them? And when you do this, how does it feel? So there's a lot of different scales and assessments and things we can give. And then just off of who they are. One of my favorite assignments, I'm very cognitive, behavioral, and I give homework. So one of my favorite assignments to give to a patient is to write.
I'm sorry, we're gonna have to find a different word. It's for all the young people out here watching. It's not homework. That you're getting. It's not homework.
Okay, it's a fun word.
Task. A fun task.
I asked them.
Yes. Yeah. Amanda will give you a fun task.
Yes, I will.
You come talk to her.
Well, I'm going to ask you to write me a letter of essence. And another name for this is a who I am letter. And I want to know who you are, what you've done to become who you are, why you are who you are, and then who would you like to become, and what would you like to do in order to become that person. Right? It takes several weeks.
Can I type it?
You can type it.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's wonderful. And they do this and then they bring it back and I read it to them. Because it's one thing for you to think about something. It's something else for you to even say it you write it out, but to be able to receive it through hearing it, it really hits different. So I will read this to them, and then we go through every line of that letter. That might be their baseline, right? So then we do a couple of months of work together, and then we might revisit that letter and be like, so where are you now? Are you at the person that you want to be? Where are you on your journey to becoming that person? So the baseline can look different for each individual. Therapy is so unique. And that's something else I really love about it. There's no rubric or curriculum that I can say, this is what we're going to follow, because it really depends on the individual who's coming in to meet with me and say, this is what I need, if they even know, because sometimes it's a lack of clarity. I don't know. I just don't feel right. All right, well, let's dig in. Let's see what we can find.
And establishing that baseline again through those different tasks that are assigned to individuals is very important, because it will help you whenever you're reading it back and you are going over it. It allows you the opportunity to resonate with it by hearing those words and seeing it and have that aha moment, so you know that you're working in the right direction.
It's one of the hardest tasks I ask people to do, and they'll tell me, this is hard. I'm like, I know, but you can do it. And it teaches them. Therapy is about digging. It really is. And you're going to do some of the hardest work you've ever done.
Right.
Our job isn't hard. Our job is to guide you through this journey. The person who's doing the therapy, you're going to do hard work, because there's a lot of people who don't like to stand and look in the mirror and really see what's in front of them. And that's what we're asking you to do in therapy. Now, we're going to hold your hand, right? We're going to guide you through it. You don't have to do it alone, but you do have to do the work. So when that letter is being written, that's that beginning of learning how to dig into you with a little bit of guidance through the prompts. But it's very effective.
Yeah.
So it would be fair to say that a therapist or a counselor is simply a guide to help you in your own journey.
Absolutely. I would agree wholeheartedly with your statement there, because as I mentioned earlier, we're not here to provide advice to you. That's not tell you, hey, do X, Y, and Z. We're here to guide you step by step and help you in processing what it is that you're dealing with.
We're going to help you find you.
And let me also say too, I think that there might be this thought, or it's almost a misalignment of thinking that therapy only deals with traumatic events, and it doesn't. I mean, we celebrate many, many positives. A lot of growth is celebrated in therapy and helping you figure out how to process through that, albeit may be, quick success, whatever it may be. It doesn't always have to be a traumatic experience. Now, don't get me wrong. Many times we're dealing with a lot of traumatic experiences that individuals have gone throughout their lives, and that varies and differs for each and every individual. We could have two similar experiences that we have, but they're definitely not the same, because I may feel one way about it and you may feel the other. But for the most part, therapy is dealing with a lot of traumatic experiences, but you also deal with those positives as well. So I want that to be known, so that individuals only think I only need to go see a therapist if I'm only dealing with something that I'm struggling with. No, you can go see them in good times too. We want to help you get to that point if you're dealing with something that's difficult too, so you get to those good times all the time.
Therapy, self-care.
Yeah.
It's a form of self-love that someone invests within themselves. It's sometimes I have some patients that come in and they're like, okay, I'm ready for my oil change, right? It might be every 6 months. They just want to check up. Or they may have come because they had an experience that their body is now carrying as trauma and they need to be able to work through it. We do, one of the modalities that I utilize is EMDR. It's eye movement desensitization reprocessing. And with EMDR, it's amazing because you have all of these things that have happened in their life, and we take one at a time and we reprocess it so their brain can store it differently, so it doesn't cause them harm. You have children. Have you watched, it's not In and Out. It's the emotion movie. The Disney
Inside Out.
Inside Out, yes. Inside Out is wonderful. But Inside Out 2, when she kept having the negative memories and they're like, oh, we're not dealing with that. And they threw it in the back, and then the way they showed the crashing down of all, that is so real, real. So with EMDR, it's like we don't want to pile it up. So we're going to take those And we're going to go through each one and reprocess them so they can be tossed in the pile with the other memories, but the appropriate pile, not just in the back where you don't have to think about it. So I really appreciate how we have this. We said it's a guide. It is a guide, but it's also a trained guide. It's someone who has the education and training to know what to do to help the individual, because truth be told, there are a lot of therapists and clinicians out there. There are very few good ones. So you do not want to just settle for any therapist either. You need to make sure. I'm a huge fan of consultations. I'll tell people all the time, go do your research, pick maybe 4 or 5 that for some reason you were drawn towards them. Call them and say, I would like to set up a consultation. If they're accepting patients, may I set up a consultation? Most consultations they say 15 minutes. They can run anywhere 15, 30 minutes. But throughout that time, ask the questions that you have, but also feel them. Your energy introduces you when you walk into a room before you ever open your mouth. Feel them and determine, okay, I think I like the way this feels. I think it will work well for us. Then you can make a decision. But don't just say, I need a therapist, and call your insurance company or ask mom or dad. And they're like, okay, here, go see this person. You may not like that person.
Right.
And that is okay if you don't like them. Don't settle. Because, again, you're giving someone the privilege to dig deep into you.
Right.
You need to kind of like them in order to do that.
Right. And you don't want to get to that period, especially this is crucial for that 14 to 24-year-old demographic, to find that individual that's going to fit, because you don't want to pour your heart out and your heart and soul out and start doing work towards getting yourself to, a better place per se, and then have to start all over because the therapist or the counselor that you have just isn't a good fit for you. So it is important to find that person. And I'll be completely frank and honest that I may not be for everybody, just like you may not be for everybody. And that's completely fine. Make sure that you find the person who is going to fit with you, that you feel very comfortable in dealing with. And telling your personal things about, because you'll have some therapists who would just sit there and there's no knock on anybody at all. And just, and that's it. And that's all you're getting, right? And you sit there for an hour and you're doing talking, but you're not getting that trained guide to help you get to where it is that you want to be.
I can definitely say I did that. My first therapist I used because that was the first therapist I found. Having never done therapy before, I went into it with they're a trained professional. It shouldn't really matter what their personality is. They're going to give me a couple things to do. I'll work through it. And hopefully I'll feel better afterwards.
Yeah.
And so it probably took a couple rounds of me just being frustrated before I came to the realization that it is working with a therapist is a relationship.
Yes.
Right.
Just like everything
Absolutely.
else you do with other humans. And because it's a relationship, the other half of it matters. I totally hear that piece of it. For our students, just if I'm a 18-year-old guy and I am looking to do therapy for the first time, I have gotten in trouble at school. I got involved in the juvenile justice system. I don't trust most adults. And that's been reinforced by my experience in the justice system at school. I don't have a stable home life. And so I love my mom, who I live with, but most other adults I'd rather not be around. I kind of want to hang out with my friends, but I don't feel great most days. So I'm talking to you guys because Benchmark said they would pay for it. How do you kind of approach that and break that down? Because there is, like we're saying, it's a relationship.
Right.
And if I'm coming in inherently distrustful, but also inexperienced, how do you address that?
I think the first thing is going to be the interaction, and my hope is they're going to feel my energy, and they're going to know that I'm very sincere and my reason for sitting across from them or sitting beside them. I am very much a strength-based approach clinician. Mm-hmm. I'm always going to start with, tell me about you if you're comfortable doing so. And they might, what do you like? And what are you good at? Because if I can start with focusing on the things that you are good at, most likely you're going to be comfortable talking about that. And we can just dig deeper from there. But strength-based has always been I've always been very successful using a strength-based approach because individuals, number one, human nature, people like to talk about themselves, right? And because I am a professional listener, I tend to do well with most of the individuals that I encounter. But styles are different. My style of treatment, I am very direct. I do not have time to sugarcoat. It's a waste of my time and it's a waste of yours. In my career of 20-something years, I've met one young lady that did not go well for. And I told her that's fine. And I gave her 3 referrals to other individuals that I thought might suit her style better. But most people appreciate the directness because we live in a world full of masks and fluff. And I think people are tired of that. But I let people know off the bat in our intake, I'm going to be direct. I'm going to treat you the way I want to be treated. I do that professionally and personally, and I'm going to treat you, meaning that with love and respect. And I hope that you can do the same for me. I also let them know what my goal is. I am there to serve you. That's what we're doing right here, right? My goal is to serve you. So at any point in time, if you feel like that's not happening, please let me know. So that way I can either fix it if that's a possibility, and if not, help you find the right match for you. Because like you said, we're not the perfect match for everyone. And then my job is to work myself out of a job. I need you to get to a point where you're like, you know what? I don't need you anymore, Dr. Davis Bowie. I'm like, that's good. Like, that's music to my ears. I need to work myself out of a job. And I'm very sincere in that because believe me, the state of the world, I'm never going to run out of work. But if I can get you to a point where you feel very healthy and you feel secure and you feel stable in it, check back with me in 6 months if you need to.
Right.
So I start with them telling me about what they love, what they enjoy, and what they're good at. Because everybody likes at least one thing. So we can start there.
And I think that's important because I would say, like, my purpose, I know, is to serve others. I know that is one of the main reasons of why I was put here was to be able to serve others. And I have a gift of gab, I guess, per se. I'm able to connect with individuals on many different levels and from many facets of life. And, you know, as an 18-year-old talking, the one thing in a client counselor relationship, in that therapeutic relationship, is important to build rapport. And that goes back to talking about, you know, what are the things that interest you. Might sit there for the first session and say, you know, I'm asking you a few questions. Tell me, I like basketball. I like watching movies. And it might be closed-ended as far as that conversation, but showing that sincere genuineness that, hey, I'm trying to open myself, not trying because we don't try, we do. I'm opening myself up to you to get to know you better, to get an understanding of what it is that is bothering you, that you're going through, why you were sent here to see me. Because like you said, yep, I'm just going because they said I'm mandated that I have to go, right? And we've had instances of that. I personally have had instances of that where individuals will sit there for the first session and not say anything. And then over a course or a period, it starts to break down because you're continually building that rapport. Because if we have something that we might find in common, that I know that you like video games, right? Because you need to do your homework on your therapist just as your therapist needs to do their homework on their client to be able to serve them in the best manner possible. So if I know you like video games, guess what? We're going to talk about video games. If I know you like to work on cars, guess what? We're going to talk about cars. If I know you like football, we're going to talk about football. I have been blessed. I would say I don't know everything, but I know a little bit something about most things. So that goes a long way in building a therapeutic relationship, especially with that demographic from 14 to 24. Because the older that we get, the more we are able to tell, hey, I know I like this, I know I don't like that. Whereas from 14 to 24, we have a little bit of indecisiveness that can happen and occur. And so it could make it difficult. But if you have that ability to be able to connect with your client on that level to allow them the opportunity to be able to open up. Because here's what it is. Most of the time, people felt like they're not being heard, right? And you have that. The floor is yours to be able to talk. Let's get to know each other. And we go from there. You'll get a long way.
One of the advantages that I really appreciate about Benchmark is Benchmark allows us the option to move. Depending on where you work, you can't always incorporate movement into therapy. And I'm a big fan of incorporating movement because people tend to open up a lot faster in movement, whether it's like, hey, let's go for a walk. Let's go to the playground around the corner and swing. Let's go box. Let's go lift weights. Like you have that option here where it will be easier to build that rapport with the individual because we are able to incorporate movement into that time that we spend together. That's like everything. That is amazing. And some people need it and some people don't. And some people don't want it. But I love that it's an option.
Absolutely. Because it makes a huge difference because when you're moving, you're just like exercising, you're releasing those endorphins, and that's that feel-good drug, right? And when we feel good, we look good, you're going to be more apt to have a conversation with someone.
Yeah. Well, even in addition to that, even if you're not moving, being in that setting, you're shoulder to shoulder as opposed to across the table. It doesn't feel like a sterile environment. Some of the best conversations I've had with students over the years has been sitting on a bench in a gym next to them, or transporting them, like sitting beside them in a vehicle while I'm driving. There's something specifically about that. There's something about that. The adult is like preoccupied, zero threat, like something about that really lends itself to better conversations. That kind of leads me, I was going to ask, what does therapy look like? I imagine a lot of students have this picture of sitting on a couch in a square room while you're taking notes. It sounds like that's not the case.
And,
it can be if you want it to be, but no, that's generally not the case.
And the plain, simple answer is, what does therapy look like? Whatever you want it to. And the reason I say that is because not everything is going to be the same for each individual. Other people are going to have differences of what will work for them. And, we had asked that question when we had met here before at Benchmark to participants here, give us what you think therapy looks like. And plain as day, what you said is exactly what we got. Yep. A guy sitting behind the desk with glasses on, balding. Me. With glasses on, balding, with like a sweater vest, and you're laying on a couch and you're talking. It could potentially look like that, but it does not have to. It can be, boxing. It can be sitting on a park bench. It can be whatever you want it to be. But the goal of it at the end of the day is to help you get to a place where you are performing efficiently and effectively, moving towards your goals.
That's good for everyone to know, I think.
Yeah.
And I think this is a good place to point out, if you are connected to Benchmark program to get your services, Benchmark covers it. So if cost, I imagine that, at least for me, that is one of the first things that comes to mind. That's why I avoided therapy for so long. I'm fine talking to anybody about my issues. I just didn't want to pay for it. Because if I just worked out harder, that'll usually solve it for me. If I just beat my body hard enough, I will sleep. I won't keep waking up at night. So for lots of our students, cost is to talk to you, to get your services. Cost is off the table. We take care of that. And I think it's good for them to hear that and hear that it can kind of look like whatever they want it to look like.
Absolutely.
Do you offer in-person and virtual?
We do.
We do. Okay. Yep. And then another thing to piggyback off of that, this is great, phenomenal that Benchmark offers those services. And we knew that whenever we started Strength, Love, and Motivation back now, heading towards almost a decade now, that we did not want cost to be a prohibitor for individuals receiving therapy. So even, in regards, we utilized a sliding scale to meet clients where they were, because it could be very, costly to get therapeutic services. Yeah. And we did not get into this we didn't get in this to get rich off of it, right? We got into this because the purpose is there for us to fulfill our purpose, to be able to give back and help others. But no, Benchmark, thank you for offering these services to your participants.
Well, thank you for being involved. I think this is a piece that has been missing. I think our therapy adjacent in a lot of ways in our mentoring approach, because we work with students for extended periods of time, and it's kind of non-traditional. It's not not always you're mandated to be here. Once you check these boxes, you can leave. But there are tools that you all have and have been taught that we don't have. Myself, I can have a great relationship with a student and sort of guide them as a mentor, but I haven't been trained the way you all have, and I don't have the same experience, perspective, or tools to bring to bear on that relationship. Another piece would be families. I know our students have been accessing your services and seeking therapy, and I'm so happy that has been occurring. What would it look like as you provide services to our students and build a relationship? Have any young people that you've worked with in the past, even outside of Benchmark, wanted to involve family members, whether that be a father, a mother, a grandparent, whatever, and how does that look like?
They're welcome to. So generally, they want to get to a place where they feel strong enough to have those difficult conversations. So we'll do the individual work first. And it may be with the intention of, I want to invite my mom so we can get over whatever elephant is in the room whenever we're together. Sure. Or maybe it's, I need to invite my brother. It could be anyone, but when they're ready, they are welcome to invite the individual or individuals into that space so that they can work through whatever the issue is. But I need to make sure they're equipped to do so. Now, we'll have some families that come in as families.
Right.
But if it's an individual that I'm already working with, again, all right, what do you feel like you need to have before you'll be comfortable be able to have that conversation? Right. I'm not trying to set anyone up for failure. Right. So we're going to build you up and get you ready for that fight, so to speak. Hopefully it won't be a fight, but you know what I mean? I want you to be prepared and have this skill set so that you can do what you need to do in that conversation.
Yeah. Okay. And it's on their timeline, as you mentioned. It's if they come in one day and say, you know what, I know that we discussed last week that I wanted to bring my brother in to have that conversation, but I'm not ready yet. We're not going to be like, no, you need to bring brother in because this is what we agreed upon, right?
Or sometimes they come in and they say, well, my mom said she wants to join my session because this happened this week. Do you want your mom to join this session because this happened this week? Are you? Is that something you want? Because it is about them. They are our priority, and they're always going to be our priority. So the ball is in your court. I'm here to support you and the move that you want to make. But what do you want, and why do you want it? Because you can't say, well, because my mom wants it. No, that's not good enough.
Right.
Yeah.
Why do you want it?
And there may be, like you were just mentioning, and maybe you want to say a little bit about that relative, since we're talking in that 14 to 24-year-old range about
So in Pennsylvania, a 14-year-old in the world of therapy is considered an adult. So I don't need to talk to their parent or guardian to get any permission to be able to work with them. And I certainly will not share anything that has been said in session. They have the same confidentiality agreement as an adult at 30 that comes in. So 14 and up,
Yeah.
They don't need any of it.
Yeah. Do you ever have parents or family members
Yes.
trying to like, well, I think they need this, or
Yes.
Yep, and they'll already give us diagnoses that they believe that they
Right.
have. And you know what? We listen, and we'll obtain the information and say thank you very much for it, and then we go and actually do the work that we need to do with the child. Sometimes they're right, and sometimes they're not. But I'm the type of clinician too. I don't read too much of the intake paperwork before a session because I don't want to be influenced before I meet you. I want to feel your energy. I want to talk to you. I want to get to know you. Then I can go and I can read all of the things that you have shared or others may have shared. But I don't want that to have any type of influence on the way that I meet you and the way that I feel when I meet you. So I usually do that a little bit later. I want to meet you.
yeah.
And we also have to think about that when individuals, like parents per se, because we're parents, and we know best, as I got my air quotes for our children, right? No matter if they're 25 or they're 3 years old, we know best. But we have to be careful because what we think as adults or as parents that is affecting our child may not be the reason that they are being affected in that manner. And that is some of the things that we uncover whenever we are meeting with these clients in this age range of, 14 years old, even some younger, when you're meeting with them, that what a parent may think is bothering that individual is not it. Is not it. So that's why it's important to be able to get that understanding. And as you said, if they're 14 years old, they may tell us something that I don't want my mom to know. I don't want dad to know. I don't want my guardian to know. And lawfully, we're not required to tell them that. Yeah.
So there's 4 reasons in therapy that confidentiality can be broken. The first is if someone comes and tells us that they have serious intention on harming themselves. This is not suicidal ideation. Suicidal ideation, you may be having thoughts, even feelings that coincide with suicide, but to have an actual plan, right? I know what I'm going to do, when I'm going to do it, how I'm going to do it. That is intent to harm. As a mandated reporter in Pennsylvania, we have the obligation to report that. And by report that, it would be reported to like Childline, things of that nature. But even in a situation such as that, we never leave the patient. Like we are going to stick with you. And in our first session, we go over these 4 things so they know exactly what to expect. But that's the first reason. The second reason is if someone comes in and they have a serious intent to harm someone else. Again, as a mandated reporter, we have the duty to warn. The third reason is if the courts become involved and we are mandated by a judge to hand files over, we can fight it, but there's no guarantee we will win. So I always make sure that my patients are aware that that is a possibility. And then the fourth is if there's any type of abuse that has been reported that's happened over the last 50 years to an individual 18, younger than 18 or 18 years or younger. I always get that confused.
Younger than 18.
Younger than 18.
Right.
But it's as of right now, it's a 50-year time span. So I let my individuals know right up front that these are the things that will happen as far as confidentiality being broken. If it's the abuse one, I do not believe in anonymous reporting. Well, I say I don't. We don't as an agency. We don't. I treat people the way I want to be treated. So if something is shared, I let them know, look, this is what we're going to do. And I do the report with them. So that way, when Childline or anyone else reaches out to them, they already know the information that's been given because we did the report together. And that's just the way we operate. Not everyone operates that way.
Right. So they're not surprised if law enforcement calls them, if it's some form of abuse that's happening and law enforcement is conducting an investigation. Well, the only person I told that was my therapist. He or she didn't tell me that I was going to be getting a phone call. That's why we believe it is very important to be able to do that with them so they know and that they are comfortable. Hey, we are mandated by law that we have to do this, but you are going to hear what it is that we're going to be placing into this Childline report, right?
They would be a part of any of those 4. And then you had said earlier, and I just wanted to touch a little bit deeper into it, about the parent or just a loved one in general. Maybe it's a friend that will come and share this is what is going on with this person.
Sure.
As humans, we tend to project, right? We like to project what we have going on onto other individuals so we don't have to deal with it ourselves. And I find that happens a lot with parents. Oh, Susie's struggling with this and this and that. no, you are. She's actually doing pretty good, but do you want to talk to someone? Right? Like, that's what I want to say.
Sure.
But I listen.
Sure.
And sometimes it does come back to the parent realizing, you know what, this is something that I need to work on. Yeah. Because oftentimes when we do not deal with the trauma that lives within us, we pour it onto other people. Mm-hmm. And that projection is not a healthy thing. And the other thing I want people to realize is reality is what you see through your lens. You mentioned earlier about if y'all were in an accident. So we could be in the same exact accident and we can go to the hospital and, you know, your family comes to get you, my family comes to get me, and I'm yelling and screaming. I'm never getting a car again. My entire life was the most horrific thing I've ever endured. And you're like, oh, we're so blessed. You know, let's go home, right? I may have been in a crash that left me filled with so much trauma that this was just like the icing on the cake for me. Whereas you may have never endured anything like that before until this accident, but we were in the same exact accident, completely different experience because we respond to things differently. And my reality of it is going to be so different than what yours is, even though it's the exact same experience. So I take that into consideration when I'm working with individuals. It doesn't matter what I see or how I feel about it. What matters is what they have experienced and what they are sharing, because my job is to help them get to a point of clarity. So that has I don't know, it's a lot that's involved with dealing with individuals. But
no, that's it. And there's no black and white answer. I remember reading a little bit about a study that was done on people who survived 9/11. And like for me, I remember exactly where I was when 9/11 happened. A lot of the students we work with weren't even born at that point in time. It's a textbook thing they read about. I don't even know if kids have textbooks anymore. But regardless, they all experienced the same thing. Kids who were in New York City or, you know, wherever else, they experienced the same thing, but not everyone was traumatized by it. Some of them were still, you know, 10 years later, still having flashbacks and still like deeply traumatized by it. And kind of the point of the study, at least the point that I took away, a lot of it came back to how their parent or guardian that they were with in that moment dealt with it. If the adult was freaking out, those were the students that were still traumatized by it. And a lot of it had to do with whether they were stuck there or if they were able to leave. Like if they had a cool, calm, and collect adult who was pointing them to an exit, what maybe not immediate, but like we're going to be able to get out of here, as opposed to someone who's freaking out and like we're never going to be able to get out of here. Those were the most deeply traumatized individuals. And so to your point, it's highly dependent upon the individual and what they're experiencing in that moment. For dealing with that every day, patient after, do you call them patients? I should stop myself.
No.
What do you?
Okay. I call them patients. I learned in a graduate course that I was taking, we have clients and we have patients. Patients are individuals we give diagnosis to. Okay. Clients are individuals that we serve and guide. So a lawyer has clients, a doctor has a patient. We give diagnosis if it's necessary. Not everyone needs a diagnosis.
Sure.
But our field in general is one where we give diagnosis. So technically speaking, our counseling, the individuals we work with through counseling or therapy are patients. Now coaching, they're clients. We're not giving anybody a diagnosis in coaching.
Sure.
So it just kind of depends on which realm we're speaking of. But if I'm talking about therapy, I generally say patients just so I can keep the differentiation between what we're speaking of and who we're speaking about.
Yeah. So that makes, speaking of that, like giving a diagnosis, are you prescribing medication in therapy?
No, that would be a psychiatrist. So the psychiatrist will prescribe medication. Now, we can give a referral if we think someone would benefit from medication, but it's not something that we typically do. I'm pretty holistic in my thinking. And I like for individuals to find the remedy to what they're dealing with within themselves. So our goal is to help them to create that skill set within themselves and hopefully not need something external in the end, right? We're working again towards them getting to a point of clarity and independence.
Yeah. Understood. do you work with teams who do give medication? Is that how does that look? My assumption as a layperson is that it would work best when you have a team around you. But I don't know. Does that happen? Is there any talking of, this one person says this individual needs Zoloft, and another person says this individual just needs to talk. What's that look like?
It depends on the patient. So some come to us and they already are seeing a psychiatrist and they may already be on medication. So they'll sign releases for us, excuse me, as long as they're comfortable doing so. They'll sign releases for us to be able to communicate with their psychiatrist. So as we're working with them and we're seeing the changes that are happening in them, we can send records or letters, whatever we need to, we can communicate, excuse me, with the psychiatrist to let them know what we're seeing and how well the person is doing or not doing. So we should be able to communicate with them. But not all patients want you to communicate with other individuals.
Sure.
So they may not give that release. And if they don't, I can't do anything about it. Now we have some, like I said, who need, so like bipolar disorder. Bipolar disorder is literally it's a chemical imbalance that the individual is dealing with. That is one that most likely, there's exceptions to every rule, but most likely it's going to require medication. So if I have someone that's coming in and it's a clear diagnosis, like you're really struggling with this, then I'm going to refer them to see a psychiatrist. And I'm going to strongly suggest that we all communicate as a team so that we can talk about what's going to be the best way to level them to where they need to be. So it really depends on the individual.
Understood. Okay. Goodness, I feel like we've talked for a while now. Have we hit everything that you think you want the people to know?
I just want them to know, be comfortable, be courageous. I'll say that. Be courageous.
Yeah.
If you have never experienced therapy, I can see why it's something that's scary, right? Because again, you're going to sit and you have to talk about yourself, and especially teenagers, it's awkward. Everything is awkward to them. And I like to tell them it's only awkward if you make it awkward. So at least be courageous enough to come in and just meet with one of us. And it doesn't have to be Rashard or myself. We have, like I said, 10 people that they can pretty much pick from and be like, okay, I want to talk to this person. Not everyone's available for in person, but everyone is available virtually.
Right.
But just
and I should add here, you do offer bilingual services in Spanish, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect.
So, and Carolise is absolutely wonderful. So at least be courageous enough to just set up that first, appointment. And if you like it, you like it. And if you don't, you don't. You don't ever have to come back. You don't really have to say anything other than, hey, my name is da-da-da. Leave it to us to get the conversation where it needs to be, but be courageous enough to give it a try.
Yep, and I couldn't agree more with that because for so long, seeking mental health services, even speaking from a male standpoint, has been a very, very taboo subject. And you go into that 18 to, that 14 to 24 range where you have a household that you may have grown up in. And the way that we are taught as young men and men is that we don't process our emotion. We keep it held within and we'll just deal with it at a later time, right? That is the wrong thing to do. And I'm pretty sure many of us were raised that way, right? That you can't cry at all, right? You can't show any emotion, toughness, warrior mentality. We see it in movies all the time, right? About being that warrior, right? That king that's commanding and doing everything. But it is important to take that step. It is not taboo to take care of yourself. If you'll go to the gym and work out, you definitely need to work out your mind too, because that's one thing that therapy does. It allows you the ability to be able to cope. It gives you those mechanisms to create that clarity so that you can be an effective communicator. Your self-esteem goes up. There's so many. I could talk for the next 5 hours in regards to the benefits of it, right? And it is not a taboo thing to do. It is a great thing to do. So I think that everybody should at least take a gander at it.
If you feel yourself getting angry frequently or easily, that's a sign, because anger, we know, is a secondary emotion. It is just the overlay to what you're truly feeling, but not allowing yourself to be vulnerable enough to talk about or even feel. So it's easy just to jump to anger. So if you find yourself identifying, I'm angry, or I'm irritable, or I have no energy, I don't want to do anything, or I don't care. Like that's not the norm. It may be your norm if it's something you've been experiencing for a long period of time, but trust me when I tell you that's not the norm. So allow us to at least have an opportunity to help you get to a point where you can say, I feel good.
Right. And you often think about individuals out there, many households grow up where it may be a single parent household, or it could be a dual parent relationship where I got to take care of my mom. I have to take care of my dad. I have to take care of my parents. But guess what? Yeah. You can't take care of anybody if you haven't taken care of yourself first. So that self-care is important. It is an important component. You have to be able to take care of yourself first. Because what do they tell you on a plane? What do they tell you? Put your mask on first, right? Before you, before you start helping somebody else, right? So if you are unable to help, yourself, you're not going to be able to help anybody else. So it is important to work yourself out.
And it's not a selfish decision. It's a selfless decision.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. I think we all, a lot of youth nowadays get wrapped up in a hustle and grind mentality, and I'm going to be the next, I'm going to make the next viral video. And to do that, I need to be on it all the time. I need to look and sound like I have it together all the time. And if it's not that, well, then it's business. And I don't need to necessarily feel good, because when I make it, when I am making money, I'll feel better. I'll be fine. I don't have to work on my feelings or emotions, because my main goal right now is to care for my family or my girl or my baby. And to do that, I just need money. I don't have to feel good. I don't have to be a good person to make money.
Money is attracted to energy, right? So what you often put out there is often what you receive. And money also is attracted to abundance, not scarcity. So if we're living in this scarcity mindset of, I don't have enough of this, there's not enough time, I don't have enough money, I got to go grind so I can make this happen, you are putting or creating this energy that's going to actually push that money away from you. I always say, when you are doing what you're intended to do, the money will follow. So you want to be able to take care of yourself and know yourself well enough to identify, what is my purpose? And don't get me wrong, I live in this world, and I recognize you need money to thrive, 100 or to survive actually, money to survive. Yeah. But the goal isn't to survive; the goal is to thrive. So you want to make sure that you're also healthy enough that you're able to work towards thriving, and taking care of you is a big part of that. So you can be on your grind all you want, but if you're going to be on your grind in some way, shape, or form, make time for you. So you can continue that grind, because you will fall apart. You really will if you're not taking care of you.
And at the end of the day, money does not bring happiness, not per se, right? Money is a tool to meet a need, right? At the end of the day, and some of the people who have the amount of money that many individuals who wish that they have are some of the most unhappy people that are out there, right? So you have to find a way around to be able to make it work, because it definitely doesn't bring that happiness per se, right? It brings you additional problems. It can, right? It can bring you additional problems. Don't get me wrong. We live in a very materialistic society in which it is, like we've been talking about social media here, where you see like the cars, the clothing, the jewelry, right? Why are those things so popular? And I mean, this is probably a topic for another podcast about being social engineered to be geared towards those things, right? Yeah. But money is just a tool to meet a need. And I mean, if you have that money and you haven't taken care of your mental health, it's just going to be something else at that point. Then it's going to be what's the next thing going to be? Yeah.
And I think it's a good point to make too, that you can try to have both, It's you don't have to have money and then take care of yourself, and you don't have to take care of yourself and then have money. Especially for our students. As a 14-year-old, you're not going to make you can't. There are child labor laws to keep you from making millions of dollars. You can make money, but this is now the perfect time. As a high schooler, as a 20-year-old, this is the perfect time to take care of yourself and focus on gaining the tools that you all can offer so that you have that set in place as you go on in life. The barrier is so low. Benchmark pays for it. You all have done the hard work of gaining those tools to provide to our students. Just like you said earlier, Amanda, just try it. Have the courage to try it. There's no penalty for trying it and not coming back, right? Like, do you call clients afterward? Like, we haven't heard from you in a couple weeks. Where are you?
No, it is completely up to them. Now, if we've developed a relationship with them and we recognize, this is not the normal behavior, then definitely we'll check in. But we're not going to hound anybody and be like, you said you was going to be here. Why are you coming? No, it's up to you. Our goal and our role is to serve you. So it really is going to be up to you to take advantage of it or not. But it's a free resource that it's a gift.
It is.
Put it that way. So take advantage of the gift.
Sure.
It is. And it works. It works.
That's a great place, I think, to wrap it up. It works.
Yeah.
It works. I would be remiss. This is Benchmark. I would be remiss if I didn't ask. Taking care of your physical health is obviously a key component to Benchmark. If you lift, what's your favorite lift? If you don't, what is your favorite thing to do to take care of your body?
Okay. I would say my favorite lift is, many people want the big chest and the big arms, but I'm a lower body guy. I think the squat is my favorite lift.
Okay, that's how you know you're a real one. Yeah. When you say squat,
I used to get heavy into it. I guess back in my day, I was a real monster on in the weights in general, but definitely squatting and deadlifting. But those would be my favorite exercises, I'd say. Lower body guy, lower body. Yeah.
All right.
So I'm like very holistic. I went everything. My favorite lift, and I haven't done this in a really long time. I used to love power cleaning because it was just like
full
everything.
body right there.
Yes. But for now, what I love to do, I am a huge fan of rowing. I row every morning, and I love it because again, it moves my whole body, and I love the flow of it. It's calming to me, but it's also powerful. So rowing is my go-to.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
What about you?
Oh, does picking up my 42-pound 2-year-old count as a full body exercise?
There you go.
I don't know. I think for me, pull-ups and or lat pull downs. Because you don't. If you can fly, you don't need big legs. No, I love squats as well, but I think pull-ups would be my favorite.
Okay.
And see, I'm like, I'd rather squat any day than do a pull-up. Oh, pull-ups they're powerful. They are, but that takes a great man to do.
Oh, yeah.
Well, thank you both for your time. We really appreciate everything you've done for us and for our students. I think it speaks to the high level of both of your characters that you work with us. I think going back to hustle and grind, there's money to be made out there, and this is not the place to be if that's your main goal. So I think it says a lot about the both of you that you're willing to work with us and even just sit down here and have this conversation. Really appreciate it. And how can, if students or family members are watching this, how can they get a hold of you guys to to take that act of courage and start counseling?
Throw that handle out there.
So we are on all the social media platforms, and it's just Strength, Love, and Motivation.
Okay.
They can also go to our website. It's just strengthloveandmotivation.com. And
Yeah.
then they can always give us a call. We're 717-673-8277. They
Okay.
most likely will speak to Tatiana or Nyla, and they're wonderful. That's the other thing. When you first want to get this journey started, you want to talk to someone who is going to be calm and
Yeah.
soothing. And that's exactly who we have answering those phones. So
Yeah.
it will be a good experience, that I can say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And I mean, you can always reach out directly to Benchmark, obviously, as well.
Yes.
Benchmark Studios, we're on, I mean, everything, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. You can shoot us an email or talk to us while you're here.
Excellent.
And whatever else. Yeah. Thank you both. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Yes. Awesome.
Yes, thank you.